people who know nothing about economics, let's dip back in on our wonderful ride through Kudlow Town on the Trump train, where Trump has his little graphs and they're bringing this stuff out, and they're both going to talk about how great everything was when hundreds of thousands of Americans were dying, but it gave us cheap gas. Let's give it a try.
All right, so...
Oh, and by the way, you're watching Hal Sparks Mega Worldwide. Don't forget to like, subscribe, do all that kind of stuff, please. Thank you. Just saying. And then, let's see, do I have... That's that. And then I do. Okay, here we go. Yeah, here we go.
There's a way out of this to get these prices back down.
New president.
That's right. New president. Ho, ho, ho.
You got to get rid of this guy.
Yeah.
Look, we have so many things that we're going to do, but one of the big ways, you got to get the price of energy down. Mm-hmm. And we have more energy under our feet. You know,
this is where we left out with the, I call it liquid gold. I call it liquid gold.
Call it liquid gold. That's what we have. And
no. Liquid gold would be relatively useless, actually. I don't know if you know, but try putting fuel like jewelry in your tank.
And yeah. We were going to be energy dominant. We were energy independent. We were, for the first time, I would say ever.
No, and by the way, we still are.
But we were energy independent. We're going to be very shortly. Mm-hmm. Within a year, we're going to be energy dominant. We were going to supply, and you worked on that very hard. You remember you were showing me the ships and
the ships and the boats and the little choo-choos and the boop boop, and then you had that. Remember when you brought in and put on my desk that what was it? That little bird that dipped into the red goo, and you're like, okay, Mr. President, let's go through this again. Remember when you said that? You'd always start the conversations because I didn't forget what you said. Anyways, and you go, this is an oil well. And I'd go, is it really? And you'd go, no. And you go, okay, let's start again.
Yep. Between pipelines and ships and
LNG, yes, sir.
But we were going to be sending energy to Europe at a level that we never saw before.
Solid audio. It's good stuff.
We were going to make a fortune with it, like Saudi Arabia. You know, we were number 3 and number...
Saudi Arabia's economy is right behind Russia and China on its way down. Just saying. They're cash poor, and they're having to, like, get refunds from members of the royal family.
Before, and by the time I left, we were number 1 by a lot in terms of energy, oil and gas.
Because of the LNG opened by the Obama administration.
We were sending it over to Europe. We were going to send it over to Europe in record numbers. We were going to...
And Russia wasn't going to mind. They were going to be okay with it. We're going to take over as Germany's LNG supplier. Is that what we were going to do? Were we? Or are you just saying that now because you've never said it before? Like in the last couple of months, because we did, and now Norway and Qatar are the primary suppliers.
Pay off debt, massive amounts of debt. You know, we were making a fortune with this.
No. And we don't make that. The oil companies pay leases and we get a certain amount back. Some of it goes into the strategic oil reserves, but the price of oil is reflected in the, in the world economy. So if you drive it up too much, that's why gas prices are high. That's why Russia's counting on this. This is why they're using it as a manipulation point. Same reason China and Saudi Arabia are helping to raise, they're coordinating the raising of oil prices so that basically they can keep the oil price higher than usual to affect political damage in the United States.
And we're going to be paying...
Even though China's not even using a lot of what it's
getting. Off debt, and we're going to lower taxes even further. And it would have been a beautiful picture, but now they've stopped.
Great, another unpaid for tax cut to add more to the debt.
All of that. I mean, they ended Anwar. Ronald Reagan, a friend of yours, as you know, he wanted and authors, especially authors, mm-hmm. right?
Yes, authors. You meant others. But if you say authors, just pretend people who write books are for it. If I have to click on another video of Michael Crichton talking about Anwar from 1989, oi, authors.
As you know, he wanted and authors, especially authors, mm-hmm. right? But he wanted to...
No, not especially authors. No. Stephen King. Somebody get him on the fucking phone. Somebody tweet Stephen King. According to Donald Trump, Stephen King wants us to drill in Anwar.
Get Anwar. And I got Anwar. Anwar could be the size of Saudi Arabia in Alaska, could be the size of Saudi Arabia.
You mean volume, it have the same volume of oil as Saudi Arabia's amount, which, by the way, since we're dealing, this is what he doesn't understand. Saudi Arabia's oil reserves are very low compared to what they used to be. So the idea that now that Anwar matches it, that doesn't mean, oh shit, Anwar is huge. It means, oh shit, Saudi Arabia is almost empty. Boston Brian probably has his number. I don't doubt it.
We would have had an energy boom like nobody has ever seen before.
That's right. We got booming all over the place.
Yalla boom.
That's right.
Boom, yeah. I understand boom.
Mm-hmm.
Bada boom.
That's right.
And we were going to use that to pay off the $35 trillion in debt. You would have been.
It wasn't $35 trillion of debt when you took over, fuckwad.
It had big chunks out of that.
Yeah, big chunks. That's the important thing for me. And I think for a lot of you guys. Just,
Where's Dick?
Sorry.
Dumps. They call them dumps. Big, massive dumps.
And also, at the same time, lower taxes for middle-income people.
Middle-income people. Why when he says it, does it sound like he's talking about hobbits?
And it would have been a beautiful thing, but they ended it. Look, they ended that. Then they left the borders open.
No.
We built almost 500 miles of border wall. We were going to put up another 200. It was all made. It was sitting there ready to be installed. Would have taken 3 weeks.
Would have taken 3 weeks. From when? I'm serious. 3 weeks from when? Were they just, you think they were just fucking hammering and arc welding and shit up till noon on January 21st? And they're like, everybody drop your shit and step back.
We're all set.
Is there, yeah. I'm just saying, for the record, just, hello, bullshit.
Bullshit!
Right, exactly. Oops, there we go. Takes a moment for it to load. There we go. I gotta move this guy over. Ooh, there we go. Try that again.
Bullshit!
There you go. Hello, bullshit. No, it would not have been done in 3 weeks. It would have not been anywhere close to done or created or finished, or an extra 200 miles made in a couple of weeks. Fuck off with that.
And they didn't want it. I mean, the whole thing is incredible.
He spent.
They didn't know how to do. I make a nice couple of sandwiches. I put them out there. A couple of bugs land on them. They're not gonna eat them. They're very picky. They're very picky. They're saying on the ride home they're hungry. They're hungry, and and then I get home and I take I make a couple of jam sandwiches. I take 2 pieces of bread, jam them together. They don't think that's funny, and I'm reading right here. It says right here that they didn't like it.
Spends his time attacking fossil fuels,
Yeah.
A, and B, business in general.
Yeah, business in general. Oh, that's that thing that Biden does that I really hate, where he just attacks the idea of having employees and making shit. It's just this weird. He has this thing against business in general.
I don't think I've ever heard a president in either party attack business so much, or attack oil and gas companies and coal companies that employ tens of millions of Americans. I don't understand that, sir.
Larry, you watch him, he can't put 2 sentences together.
Right, so how can he attack something if he doesn't fit? Maybe he's trying to compliment them. It's just he puts the sentences together all wrong.
Doesn't know where he is. He can't walk up a flight of stairs, let alone down a flight of stairs. And you look at this guy.
Well, tell me about the ramp again.
We have the most corrupt president in the history of our country, and we have the most incompetent, simultaneously the most incompetent president.
Well, then how does the corruption then actually function? If he's that bad, then how does it actually? Because corruption requires, I would think, oddly enough, corruption requires a certain level of competence, right? Otherwise, how do you pull it off? You know what I mean? If you're if you're an you're an incompetent, corrupt politician, does that mean you're an accidentally honest politician? So, all right.
And what he's doing to this country, millions and millions of people are pouring into our country. Look at New York City. Look at Chicago. Look at these cities, what's happening to them.
Yes, I have. I've had some wonderful hangouts in these cities that you're talking about recently. I'm not kidding.
With hundreds of thousands of illegal aliens coming into and sleeping on Madison Avenue and sleeping in Central Park. And
okay, Kudlow lives in New York and works there still because he's on Fox Business. That's not his experience at all. Like, I guarantee this motherfucker ate at a nice steak restaurant the other night, took a fucking car service across town. Traffic was lighter than usual. The sky looked nice. It was a little hotter than he wished it'd been. But then he met up with friends and they talked about swilling fucking bourbon that cost like $900 a bottle, and going, New York is just going to hell, isn't it? Larry, come over here. Tell us, he was just on Mar-a-Lago, don't you know, speaking Bedminster, was it? I can't tell them apart. They both smell like Bengay and cheese. But the important thing is, Larry, tell us all about your conversation with Mr. Trump, because ever since he's left New York, I've talked to some of my lady friends, and besides the fact that they feel safe to go out, they're saying it's just not like it was. And then they giggle and clap. And I get the feeling that they mean it's a good thing, but I don't. Tell us again, Lawrence.
Nobody's ever seen anything like this. And by the way, they're coming out of prisons, they're coming out of mental institutions, and they're terrorists, a lot of them.
Yeah, nothing's worse than a crazy terrorist. They don't even know who they're trying to terrorize. One terrorist got out of an insane asylum, headed straight for a mirror and went, boo! Shit.
And this is going to be a problem for this country for a long time.
Yeah, because, by the way, that's a little bit of a dog whistle about the children crossing the border, that they're just sort of genetically, like, it's just in their blood to grow up and be violent troublemakers and a waste of resources until they get angry and decide to blow up people.
And we have to close up that border. We have to seal it up, except for people that want to come in legally. Like we had the safest border in the history of our country. Now we have.
Thanks, COVID.
I think the worst border in the history of the world. I mean, there's no country that would have allowed this to happen. And
and by the way, what he means is, why can't we be like the Saudis and have our guys yell at women and children, where do you want to be shot? And when they go, shoot them in the chest.
It's almost as though they want it to happen. It's almost.
Or then explain to me how, after they took off Title 42, the number of crossings dropped. Why was that big? What's the?
Almost as though, because the concept of open borders, especially when you don't even check the people just walk into the country.
Yeah, they don't even check. I don't know what it is. Apparently, he thinks the Customs and Border Patrol people just gave up. Shit, if Trump's not going to run this joint, fuck America. That seems to be, I guess, Customs and Border Patrol staff, all that, you guys down there on the border, is that what you do now? Because according to this asshole, that's what you do. I'm not kidding. According to him, that's what he does. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we don't even know where they come. They come from countries that nobody ever even heard of.
Yes, like Kluntavania and Gojiristan, and Fulmultop of Volpovenia. A lot of terrorists come from there. Fulmultop of Volpovenia. Lower Slavonia is a big one. It's big, but it doesn't do much. Yeah. We're over with like Jerkistan. There's a big bunch of Bullshitistan. There's a lot of those folks coming through.
And last month they had 142 countries that people came in from these countries. Many of them nobody ever heard of.
We get one of each. Apparently, the Biden administration's diversity program is called Operation Colors of Benetton. No. Sorry, we have far too many Guatemalans. We have not seen a single fucking Swede today, and until we find a Swede, nobody crosses.
What's going on with Joe Biden is it's insane. But
yeah, it's crap. I mean, what he's doing, the whole thing that he does when he's doing it, you know, is what do you even say?
When you watch him, he can't speak, he can't walk, he can't do anything,
and yet he kicked your ass. It's got to be demoralizing. You look great though. It's got to be upsetting. No, seriously, it's a good look. Can you imagine having your ass kicked by a guy that can't put two sentences together, but yet is the head? You know who I feel really bad for? Not just you. You know who I feel bad for? The heads of organized crime. Like the cartels and the mafia and all these guys who coordinate all this shit and are having to buy and, people and get people into the police department and get fed intel and strong arm people. Give me my money. And that kind of stuff all over the place, and operating gambling and hiding money and putting it through a system where you use somebody like a foie gras goose and you just and then somebody takes the money out and then they wash it because and then they bury it for 16 years until it turns blue, and then they rinse it and repeat, and then you can pay taxes on it or something. I don't know how it works. Anyway, it's very complicated, and all these guys work really hard on it, and the mafia and all these big organizations, and still they bust their ass. I'm sorry, not bust. Not bust. What's the phrase?
I broke their ass.
That's right. Yeah, not bust. That's what normal people say. And they work that hard, all the mafia and the cartels and the international crime syndicates, and none of them can kick Joe Biden's ass. He's the biggest crime boss on earth. And he does it all while bicycling and eating ice cream. It's amazing.
He's telling us about energy, and he's telling us about Russia and nuclear weapons. This guy is going to get us into a nuclear war. He's going to really do it. He's going to get us right into a nuclear war.
I want to go back,
Well, then I guess it's over? Because even if the election was this year, you still wouldn't be able to take over till January of next year. So if it's going to happen, it's going to fucking happen. You're too late. I guess you should have tried harder last time.
believe it or not, to this.
Yes, that's true. DB Golding points out that not only did Biden, can he not put two sentences together, and he's doddering and he can't walk up or down stairs but he can ride a bicycle, and he can't put two sentences together, but he can eat ice cream without getting it on his sleeve. But he's a master criminal, and he kicked Trump's ass from a basement.
CNN town hall debate or whatever you call it.
Yeah, whatever.
We have a fabulous sound from you. I want you to hear it and comment on it.
Fabulous. This is fabulous. I agree. What is it?
Because I think it was a game changer.
That's right. This is, your game sucked, and this changed it. You were just eating shit, Mr. Former President. But now, when you said this, everything turned around.
In terms of the nomination and the election, about what you said, like right off the top.
Boom. Right. It all turned around right in the beginning when you were eating ass.
If elected president again, what is the first thing you would do to help bring down the cost to make things more affordable?
Drill, baby, drill. We created the greatest economy in history.
So the big turnaround moment was him quoting Sarah Palin. I gotta say, if I was Sarah Palin, I'd be pissed. Let's just be abundantly clear. I'd also be a lot dumber, so you wouldn't be watching me right now. There's a lot of factors, I suppose. And then, so the big turnaround moment, the big bam, this was fabulous. We did have to cut out some of your bullshit. We had to tighten it up because it was fabulous, but it was a little.
a big part of that economy was got you the biggest tax cuts in the history of our country, bigger than the Reagan cuts, bigger than any.
Yeah, and it contributed to the debt, and that's why you put on more debt as a president than any president in history.
And also,
including Reagan, who basically just tried to outspend the Soviets.
Caitlin, also, as you know, we got the biggest regulation and regulatory cuts. This place was rocking.
That was as good a statement of economic growth and prosperity as anyone could ever ask for.
Okay, first of all, he says the same shit all the time. Also, again, Larry, call up Sarah Palin and blow smoke up her skirt, you asshole. He just borrowed a phrase from her. Also, and the tax break, the signed one was the biggest one in history, but the personal part of the tax break, the individual part of the tax break, sunsetted. So it is no longer the biggest tax break in history. It is the biggest corporate tax break in history. And I think I don't know why he doesn't feel comfortable saying that. He should just say that. Yeah, that's a good question. Larry, why didn't somebody ask him? Yeah, you can do it the next time. Why don't you ask Trump the next time you have him on there why he refers to it as the biggest tax cut in history when it's really the biggest corporate tax cut in history because the personal tax cut sunsetted. The one for individuals, Americans, regular Americans, that went away. But the corporate tax cut chugs right on for fucking ever. And then, of course, what was the other one? Like regulation cuts. Oh, that's right. So basically, you're taking responsibility for East Palestine for the train wreck. Good.
And I say it's a game changer because I think you sent
Why would it change the game? It's the same shit he says all the fucking time.
a shot across the bow for all the Republicans running. They don't have an economic agenda like that. I think you sent a shot.
What are you talking about? They all have some sort of, standard run-of-the-mill conservative economics, but so is that. This is just a stupid way of saying it. All right.
Across the bow to Democrats who do not have an economic agenda.
Really? So they brought down unemployment to the lowest number in 60 years without an agenda? Fuck me. So you're just saying, like, Joe Biden is the greatest jazz president we've ever had. Cheers, Mark.
Let me ask you one thing. When she asked that question, you went, drill, baby, drill. It was a great line.
Yeah, it's almost like she was reading off a card and you had agreed to answer certain questions and you made everybody at CNN sign an NDA that you would only ask audience questions if you knew what they were ahead of time, and you got to choose the order. I don't know where I get that idea.
What made you say that?
well,
I've always been a big fan of Sarah Palin. Very smart. I'm on her book list. She sends me her reading list all the time, and I do the same thing she does. I avoid it.
I think that if you look and you study it, and I study this stuff like you do, I love it. I think it's very important, too.
Yeah, it's important, but I like it just because it's fun.
But, I do it, I guess, because of that reason. But
yeah, I do it because it's important, I guess. I guess that's why I do it, because it is important. What kind of a nerd just reads these numbers just to read them? But it's I'm trying to impress you with my intellect that I would just want to see smart shit. It makes me feel smart. And you know what it does? It doesn't make me feel smart. It reminds me how smart I am to see really complicated shit. And I go, I know that already.
inflation was caused, in my opinion, by energy. Because it's so big, energy is so big, it's like all-encompassing everything. You make donuts and the ovens and the trucks that deliver them, and no matter what you do, it's
all about donuts.
So much about energy.
Yeah, and America, it's time to make the donuts.
And when they stopped drilling, when they, we had it going like nobody, you were a big part of it. You really had a big thing going for selling all this to Europe and all these other countries,
yes,
right? And
the LNG, yes, sir. That's not oil, fuckhead. And secondly, we're doing more LNG business with Europe than we have ever done.
Would have made a fortune. And
yeah, only if Russia invaded Ukraine and you did the exact same fucking thing Biden did to shore up Europe's natural gas supplies. Otherwise, what the fuck? Why would they need our liquid natural gas when they get gas from Russia if they wouldn't have invaded? Like, oh, God.
And it was so sad to see what they did. They cut it off. And again,
How? How'd they cut it off? What'd they do? What do you mean? The Keystone XL pipeline? Keystone's still there.
we were drilling much more. We were a bigger force than Russia and Saudi Arabia individually. In a year and a half, we would have been a bigger force than them combined. And we would have made...
Okay. Hold one moment, if I may. I think it's important. I don't know why. Hold on. All right. Let's see. Whoops. Maybe later. Close. Maybe later. Get back. What are you doing? Let's see. We'll just jump in here with you guys, just real quick. And I know this is going to drive everybody a little bit crazy, and I love you, chat, but here we go. Thank you, Deirdre. That's really lovely. Thank you for liking the stream. Don't forget to give a thumbs up like Deirdre. She's teaching us all how it can be done. I'm just saying. What countries are the top producers of oil? Let's ask Prablin Bajpai, who's a contributor at the NASDAQ.com, or at NASDAQ.com. Okay. Let's see. In 2019, world production of petroleum, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Here's an overview of the top oil producing countries. Number one. Oh, shit. The United States. Largest economy in the world, the U.S. is also the largest producer of oil. U.S. crude oil production exceeded that of Saudi Arabia in 2018 after more than 2 decades and has maintained the lead since then. Crude oil is produced in 32 U.S. states and in coastal waters. However, close to 71% of the total U.S. crude oil production comes from 5 states: Texas, North Dakota, New Mexico, Oklahoma, and Colorado. America's oil and natural gas industry supports 10.3 million jobs in the country and contributes nearly 8% of its gross domestic product, GDP. The data by U.S. Energy Information Administration indicates that total petroleum production in the U.S. averaged about 18.87 million barrels per day, while its consumption averaged 19.78, and this in 2021. And this is the key, ladies and gentlemen. And by the way, if we can keep our consumption static, production will go up on the arc that it was continuing to go up on, and we will eclipse that. And then that's where we become, quote, energy dominant, which is just silly, whatever. But we produce more than we need, then we can just sell the excess on the world market. The difference between consumption and production is by imports. The top 5 source countries of U.S. gross petroleum imports in 2021 were Canada, Mexico, Russia, Saudi Arabia, and Colombia. Saudi Arabia is number 2. Has 17% of the world's proven crude oil reserves, second largest in the world. Saudi Arabia is a founder member of OPEC, contributes 22.4% of its current share. It joined the World Trade Organization in 2005 to gain access to global markets, create jobs, and encourage foreign investment. Around 50% of its GDP and 70% of Saudi Arabia's export earnings are governed by oil and the gas sector. Do you know how fucked you are if that's how you live? 50%. Can you imagine living in a country where 50%, and if you don't know, ask Venezuela. 50% of its GDP and 70% of its export earnings are earned by oil and gas sector. What do you do when that runs out? What happens? What happens? I don't know if it's in 10 years. I don't know if it's in 15 years. What happens when the rest of the world stops giving a fuck? When oil and gas aren't as necessary? When we move on to like bioplastics and renewables and charge cars and energy, and solar power, becomes so efficient that you can literally put solar panels on a car and it'll recharge its battery while it's sitting in the parking lot, instead of the roof of the parking garage being the worst parking spot in the whole area, that it becomes the best. In 2020, they reduced production to rebalance the global oil market in sync with a decision taken by OPEC, blah, blah, blah. They do this all the time. Russia's the 3rd largest producer, 11.3 billion barrels a day, million barrels a day. And then what was theirs again? What was their production? because their production is a big portion of their stuff, but produced 12.1, yeah, 12 and 11, there you go. Yeah, 12 million barrels a day. And we're at the United States, holy shit, is at 19.78, or no, sorry, 18.87. Almost 19 million barrels a day, while Saudi Arabia's at 12, Russia is at 11. Canada comes in there, and they're a good friend of ours. Third largest proven oil reserves globally behind Saudi Arabia and Venezuela. It's the only non-OPEC member in the top 5. They produced 5.35 million barrels a day in 2018, followed by 5. Let's see, what's their consumption, though? Expected to rise 5. Canada's consumption is less than its production. It consumed 2.27 million barrels per day in 2021. You could argue that Canada, with its weird, allegedly socialist leader and all that kind of stuff, is oil dominant because they literally use half of what they produce. They sell the other half. The U.S. is the main destination for Canada's oil exports. That's where, XL was going to go. And then China, largest any producer, only major economy which did not shrink in 2020, nor did it witness. That's also bullshit. It remained the same at 4.86 million barrels per day. The production during the 2021 that was reported at 4.9. Well, its consumption was 15.27 million barrels per day, almost as much as we do, and it produces 5. The United States is literally a million barrels a day away from producing more than we use. The Chinese use 3 times what they produce. And Iraq, UAE, Brazil, Iran, Kuwait are the other major oil producers. Also, Venezuela has a lot, but it doesn't produce much. It's because it's just fucked. Just saying. Fact check true. Joe Biden stated on June 28, 2023, in a speech to Congress, says that under his presidency, the unemployment rate has been below 4% for the longest stretch in 50 years in American history. This is true. Obviously, because he's trying to destroy the country. Because that's how you do it. What you do is, it's a tricky thing that the Biden's trying to do. Is he's trying to it's sort of like trying to strangle someone by getting your arms behind your own back. It's a weird technique, but I eventually it could just work.
So much money, we would have been paying off debt. We would have been doing things that.
By the way, the reason he's clamoring about this is because he created so much
nobody's
debt.
Ever seen this country do. And then these people, these numbskulls came in and they stopped it, just stopped it. And by the way, when
by the way, they didn't stop anything. They stopped a Canadian shale oil pipeline that just brings the oil to market, not to the United States. We still had to pay regular market price for it. We didn't get a deal on it.
They stopped it. Energy prices were.
I mean, you could argue, I would say, it's maybe one way why Keystone helps us to some degree, because transit fees across your land, you could charge a fee on it. So even if they're selling it at market price, you're getting it because you charge a fee for it to transit across your lands. You're getting that oil at a cheaper price. But also, you're also endangering your aquifers and your environment all the fucking time. And Keystone XL would have, tripled that threat all the time.
Very high. Who stops drilling when they're almost at a new high? I mean, and they stopped it, and that caused inflation. Now inflation's being caused by a lot of things. Got it started. It's almost like pushing something down a hill or up a hill, but down a hill.
Sure. Yeah. That makes. I think he means snowballing. I don't know what the fuck that is. Honest to God. Run that by me again. It's almost like what? Hold on. It's almost like what?
Started. It's almost like pushing something down a hill or up a hill, but down a hill.
And the best part is Larry Kudlow's noise. His like it's like when Martin Short goes in Only Murders. It's that whole good Lord.
Almost like pushing something down a hill or up a hill, but down a hill.
You think he had the feeling he made that noise a lot during his time in office?
They started a horrible chain of events. I looked where bacon went up 3 times in the last 2 months. 3 times. In other words, 3 times more expensive than it was a couple of months ago.
No. Okay. First of all, let me be abundantly clear. All of this asshole's fans shop at Costco. They buy in bulk all the time, or they go to Sam's Club, or they buy at Walmart in huge chunks. Let's see. Bacon, right. And pork bellies being what they are, I think we've all learned a valuable lesson from watching Trading Places. And if you haven't watched Trading Places, the important issue around, hold on one second. The important thing about it's such a staple. Bacon is such a breakfast staple across the entire country that you can track how well the economy's doing in varying degrees. Let's see. These are the high-low average per month, 2020 to 2023. Month 2020, 2021, 2022. Oh. Okay. So here, let me show you, if I may. I'm gonna blow this up. There you go. Now, if I upset anybody, if we have any maggots present, you guys might want to avert your eyes, because I'm about to whip out my bacon, and it can be upsetting. Retail bacon prices, 2020 to 2023. 2020 being the bellwether time for them, when this is the heyday. The high in 2020, 2021, 2022, the high was 551. 2021, 732. 2022, 761. 2023, oh shit. Including here, where you'll see that in the last 3 months, here's December, and then January, February, March of 2023. This is earlier this year. 696, 681, 660, 661, all going down. Let's see. Retail rate is 2016 to 2019, basically hovered around $5, 551, 547. Let's see, from 2016. So I guess he's going to take credit from, why'd it go up in 2017? What did you do? Okay, and let's see. Retail prices are at $6.61 a pound in March, up 1 cent. How old is this one? Published August 20th. No, this is it. Okay. We're at $6.61, up 1 cent from the prior month and down 59 cents from the same time last year. So bacon is up a penny from last month. It's like, oh, it's like tripled in 3 months. It's gone up 3 whole fucking pennies, but it's down 60 cents from the same time last year. Retail bacon prices averaged $7.31 in 2022, the highest annual average price on record. Retail bacon prices averaged $6.52 in 2021, up 94 cents from 2020, when no one was going anywhere and nobody was buying any, and all the processing plants were shut down, so they just wasn't available. Retail bacon prices averaged $5.61 in 2019, up 14 cents from 2018, so obviously it was on its way up. Retail bacon prices is $5.77 in 2017. Okay, blah. Reached five. Okay, retail bacon prices reached $5 for the first time in May of 2013. Thanks, Joe Biden. So, yeah, there it is. Yummy bacon. Yummy crunchy bacon. Yummy crunchy. So, yeah, so it's gone up a penny since last month and 60 cents since a year ago. Yeah, so hold on. I should have a, yeah. Why does this go back?
That was really a productive segment, wasn't it?
I agree. Yeah, yeah. Here we go.
And people have to remember when they say inflation's coming down, but you're still stuck with all those 3 years of double and triple and quadruple prices. And
yes, that is true. The past does not get fixed by fixing the present. It's just the present that gets fixed and the future that gets better. Right. And
their salaries haven't even come close to catching up. So
yeah, they have.
The people are being hurt very badly. You know, if you study inflation, you look at what it did.
Yeah. To study it. What it did to what?
To
Venezuela?
Germany.
Oh, Germany.
Many years ago.
Many. Inflation got us Hitler.
It destroyed the country. Inflation is a country destroyer.
Yeah, that's great. Inflation is a country destroyer. And you don't have to believe me. Ask Vladimir Putin and Erdogan, good friends of mine, top of their game.
And we have lifted the costs of people living so much. It's
raise the cost of living. You don't lift the cost. Never mind.
not like those prices.
Yes, it's that is the problem, because once you have inflation, you know. So let me see if I can. There's a lag today.
We are going to be a country no more. I actually think it will not. It will be a country no more.
Yeah, sure.
Prices went down. Those prices are now only going up 4%, 5%, 6%. But actually, if you look at energy, your energy is going up 40% and 50%. So I don't
And 80% and 200%, and some people even say higher.
even know how they.
You're freezing right now, even if you're hot. That's how much energy costs. Your car is, if your car is rolling right now, it's actually stopped. And if it's stopped, it's not going to start again, even if it's running.
Can say that, you know, inflation's down to 4.5% or 5%.
And then you jumped right into your program of tax cuts and deregulation.
Do you get the feeling that this is part of like Larry's job while he was in the administration to try and keep Rambling McDiaper Pants on some sort of baseline track?
Right there.
And you did, yeah, that was great. And then that thing you did that was fucking amazing, where you repeated the thing I told you to say.
Tax cuts in history.
That's why I say it was an important pro-growth. You mentioned Art Laffer before, okay? He was a great friend, advisor to your...
Something DOO economics. Voodoo economics.
A mentor to me. You know, Art argues, sir, that the GOP has to have an economic growth and prosperity message to convince the electorate that Republicans can be stewards.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. You know what? Art Laffer's right. The GOP needs a really good, easy to remember phrase that articulates how much life will be better under them. That's really easy to remember and real easy to, it rolls off the tongue, because it's not true. And in lieu of an actual strategy and an actual success record that proved long-term to help the average American, as opposed to, you know, real estate dickheads and people like Larry Kudlow, would-be robber baron gin drunks. Those people get helped by this shit, but everybody else gets fucked. So to convince those suckers to go in again on this, they really need some sort of pithy little, you know, something like Trumponomics, we'll figure it out.
Of a prosperous economy. And I'm just saying, at that moment on CNN, you laid out a platform.
You did it, baby. That's it. Drill, baby, drill. Cut taxes and regulations. Pro-growth all the way. Skeet, skeet.
And no.
You know, a new vision of Republican politics. Tax cuts and regulation cuts. And drill, baby, drill. Oh, my God.
No one has touched it.
Gonzo says Trump is one of the main causes of inflation. His failed response to the pandemic, lost jobs and lives. He's such a joke. Agreed.
Since.
Well, the head of CNN got fired that night, so I don't know. We either did very well or very poorly.
I should laugh because I barely have a job.
But I guess we did well. They had the highest ratings in 11 years.
Car wrecks and building fires and explosions tend to do that. Yeah, you're right up there with chemical fires and serial killers on the loose.
And they fired the head of CNN that night, so something happened. But I decided I'd go into the enemy camp. That's an enemy camp.
No, it isn't. It's just a fucking network. It seems like an enemy camp because you're a wuss.
Hostility I was met with was incredible.
Oh, incredible hostility. How could you? Oh, it hurts. Grown man having to take questions from a woman.
And tens of millions on YouTube and all the other platforms.
No, the hostility was incredible. I saw it at the beginning. I thought that, they're doing very poorly, CNN. I thought they were going to be actually nice, come toward the middle, start giving not fake news. And they decided, I could see when they were introducing me, I said, man, that's not a good introduction. And
well, yeah, that the problem you run into with your introduction is reality. Is your list of credits sucks.
No, they were very nasty, but we got our points across. And the
very nasty because it was a woman.
Nice thing is it was live television, so they can't cut it out. So
unlike this interview,
that was an important answer, and I mean it, Drill.
You're right. They should air. It's a good point, Larry. He's just giving you permission. Release the entire interview with like all the way through.
Baby Drill, we have to bring it down. We have something that nobody else has. I mean, other countries have some of it.
Yeah, we have something. Other countries don't have oil. I mean, they have some oil. I mean, they have more oil than us, but they don't have that much oil. But they, drill, baby, drill, I think is just what I'm saying.
But we have actually more than any other country. People don't know that we have more oil and gas under our, I call it liquid gold.
Yeah, you already said that part.
Under our feet than any other country, more than Saudi Arabia, more than Russia. And we don't use it. We go to Venezuela now to buy their tar. They don't have very good stuff. They're very thick, very heavy.
Yeah. It's got all that cheese in it, isn't it? It's the queso. That's what does it, And
you know where it's refined? In Houston, Texas. It's the only plant that can refine it. So
we shouldn't, or something. Should we move that plant down to Venezuela and just call it a fucking day, or do you want to shut down that plant? I see. Okay. So Trump, ultimately, what is Trump calling for? He's calling for that Houston refinery that does that to be shut down. Okay, cool. You should run on that in Texas.
We're a big believer in this. It goes all the way up. It goes through those stacks, and it goes all the way up into the atmosphere. So who would ever thought that?
What? Run that by me again.
Refine it. So if you're a big believer in this, it goes all the way up. It goes through those stacks, and it goes all the way up into the atmosphere. So who would ever thought that we have the best stuff there is right under our feet, and yet we go to Venezuela, we're buying it from Venezuela and other places. These people, Larry, these people are crazy.
They're crazy. They're sick. They're crazy people. I don't know what's going on. They're so mad. They're mad and they're crazy and they're loco in the cabezas. I don't know what's happening. They've lost their minds. They have whatever marbles they have. They're chasing them around the street like a little kid just scraping on the ground. It's not good, Larry. The people are crazy. Okay.
All right. Coming up, we're going to take a quick.
No. Okay. Yeah. We'll dip into that later. I've had just about enough of that, young man.